Super excited to announce the Law Firm Retreat Design Your Future being held this August 5th through 8th, 2026 in the Denver, Colorado area. Teaming up with law firm architects, Power Strategy Group, we're going to be having an amazing opportunity for up to 15 firms to work on the business, not in the business. Find out more at powerstrategygroup.com. Welcome back, everyone. This is Ruby Powers, your host of Power Up Your Practice. Thanks for joining us. And today I have an exciting guest, Marco Scanu, who is an entrepreneur, consultant, and founder of Andiamo Travel and Visa Business Plans, which is actually how we know each other in the immigration space, and also ProfitWise Online. Marco, welcome to the show.
Well, thank you. Thank you for inviting me. I'm excited for today's conversation.
So you and I see each other at conferences, so it means that we're both traveling a lot. I don't think we've ever seen each other wherever we normally live. You know, we're always somewhere else.
Exactly. You're right.
And at some point, we were talking about how you have a travel agency, and your grandpa or somebody, your dad, your father, right? Your father did. So tell us a little bit more about how you got into in the travel space.
Well, perfect. Great question. Look, my father was Italian. He migrated to Venezuela at the end of the 1940s. And in around 1952, he started working for a Venezuelan airline, and he fell in love with the travel industry. So few years later, he founded one of Venezuela's first travel agencies. And that's, I was born and raised in that industry, in that business. And, my first job when I was 8 was doing paper tickets, right? Airplane, And so I was born and raised in that industry. And I just love traveling and planning travels and all of that. Back then, when there was no internet, and you had to know your geography, really well, right? And that's what my dad tested me on. So yes, then he expanded his business into other business in the hospitality space, hotels, and so on. But yes, that's my connection with the travel business. And I've always really enjoyed planning trips up to the smallest detail. And then I think a couple of years ago or 3 years ago, I decided with my family to, open a travel agency. But we only, do this for friends and family. I'm not looking for clients. I'm not looking, meaning just any client that contacts us, only friends and families, family members that trust us with their, travel needs.
So I have a lot of questions. Like, the reason why I selfishly wanted to have you on talk about this is because I'm traveling a lot. Like, I've decided to favor one airline over another. I'm trying to favor one hotel over others. Trying to figure out which credit card to do. I have like 3 or 4 friends I watch online, and they're all like bragging about all the stuff they get and everything. And I'm just like, how do I be like you when I grow up? And so that's what I sort of wanted to have from you tell us. But I think there's a lot of strategy to be held, because we are traveling a lot for work, for conferences, or, like I go to interviews in court around the country. I go to conferences all over, even internationally. And you can be smart about it. Like, sometimes the hotel, they say to go to this one, but you could stay at the other one that you'll get more, points and rewards, and teaching your team to helps you, support you on your scheduling. Now that I'm getting upgraded regularly, I mean, it's nice when you start feeling like you're playing the game right. So this episode is sponsored by Candle AI, the legal email assistant that helps legal teams spend less time on client emails. You heard me right, spending less time on emails. Candle AI works with both Gmail and Outlook, so you don't have to learn a new tool. And then it connects with popular case management systems like Clio, Filevine, INSSoom, and more to come. It instantly shows you your case and the client details the moment you open a client email, and right inside your inbox. And then that means less context switching and time spent jumping to different tabs to figure out what you need to respond. Candle can also draft context-aware responses to client emails, and makes it easy to create, edit, and manage your email templates. If you want to save time and take back control of your inbox, check out Candle AI. I highly suggest it. So I don't know where to start with this conversation, Marco, but like what are some of the tips you would just say, like where would someone start, and how do you know, where do you find more information about this? But let's just start with what are some of the basics you would suggest?
Great. So the basic concept is never pay cash, right? Use the
Okay.
okay, never pay cash. But here's an important thing that I want to highlight. Yes, you can use credit cards, and I will talk more about it in a minute, but you have to be responsible with the way you use those credit cards, right? You don't want to end up paying a interest like crazy or anything like that. So here's the thing: company expenses, even personal expenses that you're paying for anyway, right? I was checking this morning, and today you can get from 100,000 up to 300,000 bonus points just for signing up for major credit cards, and give you between 2 times and 5 times the points in points or miles, right? When you spend, when you pay for those expenses anyway. So it's about being really intentional, right? Doing research online and finding out which cards. And you said something earlier, which is you're loyal to an airline, which is fine. But the thing is that at the end of the day, what we've been seeing in the last few months is that some airlines are not so loyal to you. So
That's true.
they have
That's
been
true.
downgrading or diluting those benefits and perks. So look, at the end of the day, it's, as you said before, this is like playing a game, understanding where to get the most points and being strategic about using those points. Let me give you an example. In most cases, the worst place to use those points is going, let's say that you have a Chase card, right? Go to the portal and make a reservation through the portal. That is not the smartest way to do it. There's a couple of websites or apps. One of them is points.yeah, right? And points.me, where you can check at any time any international or domestic flight you want to take, what are the best deals that you can get, using your point. And that means in many cases, transferring your points to another airline and buying or making that reservation through that airline. Let me give you an example. We're going to Singapore at the end of the year. So we transfer points to Air Canada, and through Air Canada, we're making the reservation to fly from Singapore to Milan with Singapore Airlines. So it's about using those tools, again, points.ja or points.me, to check the best deals for your miles. Same with hotels, right? So that's the way to do it. Be smart and really intentional about collecting those points and playing the game.
What did you say was points idea?
Yeah, YEAH.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay. Okay, got it. And okay, but I mean, so tell me some happy stories of like why you should do this, because I almost feel like this is like couponing or something like that. Like you're spending all this time trying to figure this out. Like, is it worth doing all of this? Like, I mean, my head's explode. I'm trying to run a law firm. I have a podcast, I'm doing all this other stuff, and the whole being lenient, favoring one airline, that was just because that's what someone once told me to do, and I started seeing
Exactly.
the benefit. But like, I mean, which credit cards are you supposed to get? I mean, and I recently got the Chase Sapphire, but I realized I haven't been using it for the I wanted it for the lounges, but I haven't used it. And then I went to the United the other night, and the guy was like, well, you should get the United Club card.
Yeah, of course.
And I have the American Express, so I have the, the Centurion Lounge. But I think it also depends on where do you travel to, and
exactly.
and which airlines are you favoring, and where are the lounges next to those where you're flying. That's what I've been noticing too. Anyway,
Exactly.
what else should we know?
So I hear you about, hey, I'm busy running a law firm and all that
Yeah.
stuff that you do, all these podcasts and your books, and you're
Yeah.
helping law firms grow and scale. I am thinking that your days have like 30 hours, but that's me. Anyway,
Right.
I know that you're busy, so it's about it's not really that much of an investment in time. It's about using the right tools. Again, the two websites or apps that I shared with you a couple of minutes ago, you have the information there. You can also use a couple of really good tools, right? I use Tripit, TRIPIT, right? Tripit is an app that I use to I have all the travel itineraries, but for an additional fee, you can centralize all your points and rewards so that you don't go crazy, like
Mm.
logging into each website and Chase and Capital One and Amex and so on. So it's about centralizing and managing your rewards. This solution will also warn you when your points are about to expire, right? So it's
Mm.
really about getting organized and structured, doing this, right?
Okay.
It's not going to be a crazy amount of time doing it. Really, with all the tools nowadays, no, it's really easy.
So it's more like a habit that you sort of have to have the right framework and then you have to follow up with it. So you given us a couple
100%.
of websites. Okay. What are some of the other like let's go to maybe choosing credit cards. How would you navigate which ones to use? I mean, a lot of us are business owners, so we can choose which ones we want to get. So that's really a nice
Exactly.
luxury in a way. So,
Exactly. So look, I would first look into, as you said before, where do you usually fly? Where are you located? Right. For example, you're in Houston, right?
mhm,
I'm based in Miami. My office is in Miami. So American Airlines has a very strong presence in Miami. It wouldn't make sense for me to get the United card,
mhm,
right? I don't get to fly United that often. If I were living in Chicago, yes, that would make sense. So it's all about where you travel, right? But also, let me give an example. American Express. With your American Express, you can get access to hundreds of lounges in Europe. See, so if
mm.
you get to travel out to Europe, then that is a great benefit using the American Express card. See, but then those are the two things to keep in mind. But also always checking, which credit cards have the largest sign-up bonuses. As I said before, I checked this morning between 100,000 and 300,000. I particularly like Capital One, Venture or Venture X, right? They give you the most bang for your buck, right? Up to 5 or even 10, 10 miles per dollar spent. I mean, that's huge. See? So right there, let me run some numbers. Someone with an office, with let's say $5,000 per month in expenses, you can use your credit card. You find a card that pays you, let's say two times, that's 10,000 miles per month, 120,000 miles per year, plus the sign-up bonus. We're talking here about many international trips, round trip travel. So it's there you go. That's a way to do it, but you have to be intentional about it. It's not that complicated nowadays.
So, like, what's an ideal, like, tell us a bragging story about like what you got, like a trip for free or upgrade, or I don't know. So tell us something that we could aspire to.
Well, before Japan, now everybody's talking about, oh, let's go to Japan, and social media. I went to Japan when I was a kid, because thanks, to my father's travel agency, I got to travel everywhere in the world. But then in 2019, we got first class tickets round trip from Miami for, I believe it was like 60,000 miles plus
Oh, wow.
$5.60. So
Wow. Wow. Wow.
you see, and back then, you didn't have the points.me or other platform that just go there, check. what deals you can find with your miles. So, but that trip to Japan was really amazing. Only $180,000 miles round trip for a family of three.
Wow. Well, and okay, so putting some framework to what we're talking about,
Mm-hmm.
decide where, based off of where you're flying out of, where you're going to be going to. You gave us a couple of websites to coordinate and monitor like our points. And then there's TripIt, like you said. You gave a couple of credit cards to choose from, but there's also different deals. I actually was talking to somebody working at United, and he told me, because I told him how the Chase Sapphire wasn't working out for me. I've had it like 4 months now. And he was like, you could call Chase and get yourself over to the United Club and do something. It was late at night. He said it almost felt like he was speaking another language to me. I don't know. Do you know what he might have been telling me? Like, he's like, because I already paid the annual fee for Sapphire, and that's the other thing. Some of these annual fees are they're moving up, and then a lot of people are also paying for them. So some of these lounges are getting crowded, and I
Exactly.
feel like it's a lot of work to even just get the value out of it. There's like, oh, if you get this credit and that credit and do this, it'll pay for itself. We have to do it, and so that's where I'm still in that space too. Anyway.
Yeah, well, you said it right. You have to do it, and basically the first step is analyzing how the return on investments. Let's say a $695 per year card. Okay, what type of perks do you get, and how can you actually make it happen, right? So that you
Hmm.
get part of, fully or partially that money back through, they cover, for example, global entry, just to give you an example. So it's actually
Hmm.
getting organized and doing it. Going back to your question, what your friend was referring to is that there's basically this war between credit cards and airlines where you can basically call them and say, look, I'm getting this deal from this other airline. I mean, I'm thinking about
Hmm.
switching. What are your thoughts? So
Discuss.
exactly. And we talk about it. I'm open to any idea. Well, not any idea, but I'm open to considering any recommendation from you guys. So it usually works, right? So yes, that's most likely what your friend was referring to.
Okay, so I'm gonna embarrass myself. So I have all these different credit cards for different businesses and stuff, and they're accumulating points, and I haven't done all the stuff you told me to do yet. So I should make one of these accounts with like points, yeah, or points me or something to consolidate so I can sort of see, or like, what do I do with all those points? Like, should I be trying to funnel them to one of my airline account, or is it all just depend on what you can get out of it? Like, because sometimes what I did in the past is I would just give myself credit for towards the bank statement, and that's not the right thing to do.
Well, it depends on what's important for you, but assuming that you want to maximize the points, right,
Hmm.
or the use of those points or miles, what you could do is, now with AI, it's super easy, but before AI, up to maybe 4 years ago, I would
Yeah.
have a Google spreadsheet with the different perks. For example, the Capital One, I can use those miles on all these different airlines, right? And
Hmm.
whenever I was planning a trip, it's okay. I wonder if I could travel to, I don't know, to Rome with this airline instead of that one, right? So that I could use the miles. Because here's the thing: there is miles inflation.
Oh, dude, this is getting
Oh
complicated.
yes.
Yeah.
Oh, not complicated, but of course, all these airlines. For example, if you let me use a random example. Let's say that a year ago you could go from Houston to Rome for 40,000 miles. Now, most likely 60,000. So if you don't use
Mm.
those miles pretty fast, in
Mm.
points and reward inflation is going to eat up your benefits. Okay.
So it's making you want to use them sooner and not sit on
Of
them.
course. Exactly. Don't sit on them. Use them. See, use them.
And then there's also a whole nother thing, like, okay, I've got my miles and then my husband has his miles. But let's say
Uh-huh.
we want to go to Australia this December to visit my sister-in-law.
Oh,
I haven't
nice.
figured
Okay.
this stuff out, and I'm like, well, let's funnel all of our miles and try to get this covered as much as possible.
Of course. But of course,
What
I
would you
mean,
do in my situation, hypothetically?
hypothetically, well, look into, I mean, flights from Houston to Australia, right? Which
Uh-huh.
airlines, right? And then go to one of these websites that I gave you. And you put in the dates. I want to travel from Houston to, I don't know, Sydney on December 1st. And it will list you all the different deals with different miles and airlines, direct flights, indirect flights. You have all the options in front of you, right? And then you figure out, okay, now I need to transfer these miles from Chase, for example, to this airline, and then from this airline or through this airline, I make this reservation to travel from Houston to Sydney. So start with using one of the two, or you can even check both websites to see which one you like better. Let me give you an example. Our daughter is always helping us organizing the trips. She prefers um, points.yeah, and my wife prefers points.me. See?
Mm.
So
Mhm.
they're the real travel agents here in the business. So that's what I would do if I were you. See what options they give you, where you can get the most out of those mines, because again, inflation happens to
I
those
hadn't
point
even thought
mines.
about that, the
Oh
points
yes.
inflation. And there's all these other like Facebook groups or other groups I feel like when I started looking into this and people are always sharing like I think one of them is this whole thing about the credit cards, like
Uh-huh.
getting the credit cards, maximizing the points and then monitoring to
Exactly.
make sure you're keeping it going, transferring the
Mm-hmm.
points wherever you really want to. It seems like a whole thing about credit cards.
Yes. Well, yeah, you have Facebook groups, you can go online, you
Mm.
find so many different resources on how to do it. You have, for example, the points guy. I mean, that's
Oh yeah. Uh-huh.
yeah, so there's a lot of resources out there. I mean, that's a good starting point, the points guy. But for me, the main thing is use them as soon as fast or as fast as you can, because the points
Okay.
inflation thing. See, and yeah, so you sort of start thinking about your trip to Australia sooner than later. Not just thinking, but taking action.
Yeah, I think that's another thing people are concerned about, like gas prices, with everything going on in the world. And if I've heard that like the prices that the airlines bought, at the flights for a certain period of time have already been calculated, but like the prices could go up going forward. And so I think some people are talking about you should, if you're going to fly anytime the next year, you try to buy your ticket soon.
Exactly. You're right. And that is a reality that is kicking in now in Europe more than in the United States, because yeah, they're
Mm,
super close to, where the action is now, where the war is going
hmm.
on.
Yeah.
So in the United States, sooner or later, inflation is gonna hit those tickets, airline tickets. So yes, another reason for you to book fast.
Yeah. So speaking of travel and work, there was something we were going to discuss about like workcation model of
Okay,
um what
love it.
what do you, what is that? Because like what's the difference between a workcation and just working while on vacation? Because a lot of times attorneys do that. And I mean, I think it's all about boundaries and everything and what your intention is and what the purpose is, but maybe give us some
Exactly.
examples of how you approach this.
Perfect. Look, the great question. I love it. Look, the biggest difference is not about the location. It's about your intention and control. A workcation has rules. When you work, when you don't work, those boundaries that you spoke about, and
Hmm.
you deciding what are the things that really need your immediate attention and the things that can interrupt your time, right? On the other hand, working on vacation has no rules, no boundaries. What does it mean? everything feels urgent, nothing stops. So it really
Mhm.
takes, this is about mindset, Ruby. This is more about how do I get organized? How do I structure my workation? The first step is really thinking and believing that it can be done. Because the moment you sit there and think, no, that's too hard, it cannot be done, then it's not going to happen. As I always say, Henry Ford said, whether you think that you can or you cannot, you're
You're right.
right.
Mhm.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it starts with believing it can be done, and yet it's structuring your day. Let me give you an example. Let's say you go on this workation. You say, okay, I'm going to work on really legal stuff from, I don't know, 7 a.m. till 10 a.m. in the morning. Then I'm taking off between 10 and 4 o'clock, right? No phone calls, nothing, and unless the world is ending, right? And then I check in with the office at 4 to 5. Any urgent communications, anything that really requires my attention and needs my input right now, and so on. So it's really about setting time for work and for vacation during the same day. That's the key.
And I get you with that because if you're going on a true vacation and you're like phone down, staff don't talk to me, every these are all the things that need to happen. Don't reach out to me unless absolute, yeah. And but have you usually to truly do that, you have to have done a lot of planning or depending on how much
Oh
support
yes.
staff and systems. But what I agree with you, the workcation concept, which I think as long as you know that's what you're doing, it makes sense. Like, I think one of the times when I was working on my last book, Power Up Your Practice, I went to Costa Rica. I put the kids in Spanish camp from like 8 to 12. I worked on the book during that time. We ate lunch together. And then the second half of the day, we went to the beach. We did something touristy. We had fun. That was like intentional. I was trying to, do everything in that situation. I had a plan. Are you feeling overwhelmed by all the different things you have to do to run a law firm? Well, you're not alone. So many law firm owners are in the same boat. That's where Staffy steps in. More than 90 firms just like yours are leaning on their bilingual virtual staff for legal, administrative, marketing, and client-facing work, plus their full HR support. I currently have 11 team members with Staffy across my own firm and Power Strategy Group, and it's been a total game changer. Schedule a free initial consultation at staffy.cc, that's stafi.cc, and use the code RUBY, RUBY, for $500 off. So I think that was a good example of like a workation in a way.
Great.
What I think that you're right about the intentionality and making it possible, but it also can be creative too of, when the kids are available or your flexibility maybe as a business owner. So if you can really find a way to manage the travel hacking, you can find a way as a business owner or you can find a way to really maximize your mobility and flexibility.
Exactly. No, 100% with you. But I want to add three very practical things, because it's not enough to say yes, I have the intention, but then it needs to happen, right?
Mm-hmm.
So what are
Yeah.
the key three factors in my view that, you know, first of all, you need to have the right people, right? When by people, I mean, yes, team members in the office, team members who are reliable and responsible.
Right.
That's number one.
Mhm.
That
Mhm.
means having the perfect system, right? But
Mhm.
even with imperfect systems and with the right people, everything will be fine, right?
Yeah.
But I'm also talking about, as you said, I mean, you brought your kids to Costa Rica, the right people, because what if your kids said, "No way, I'm going to Costa Rica. I'm not going there. I don't support you in that adventure." So it's also about having the right team and support at home. So going back to how can anyone effectively make it happen? First of all, it takes, as you know, organization. It takes time. It doesn't happen overnight, right? So you need the right people, but then with the right people, you need systems, you need processes. What are systems and
Mhm.
processes? It's basically, in my experience, defining what the work product looks like. What does a quality work product what does quality legal representation look like, right? Define
Mhm.
exactly what those standards are. It's about the standards, defining the standards and how is it done? Who's going to do it? How do we escalate issues, right? If or how do we solve issues that are going to escalate and so on? But it's about having systems and processes that are fully documented, but not only documented. You have to train your team on those systems and processes. And guess what? Let me tell you a story. When I grew my chain of gelato stores in Venezuela, how was I able to grow it to a chain? I was in the office, but whenever a team member, after we wrote all the systems and processes and SOPs and so on, I was in the office, and whenever a team member asked me, "Oh, Mr. Scanu, how can I solve this?" My answer would be, "Let's assume that I'm in China. How would you fix it?" And they would go crazy. But you know what? That's how you test their ability to solve problems. It's easy to go to Ruby. "Hey, Ruby, we have a fire here in the office."
Uh,
It's easy for you to have the answer. No, leaders have the questions. We
mhm.
need to surround ourselves with people that have the answers. So that's how I was able, and I learned the lesson. Whenever they came to me after a month, guess what? They didn't ask me anything. They knew that I was going to say, "You know what? I'm in China. Don't ask me. You figure it out." Of course, I knew whenever I had to step in because I realized that a specific situation is not in the SOP. But I would, what would you do if I were in China with no phone? That's how you really train the team to execute and basically, as I say, you're either part of the solution or part of the problem. As simple as that. So I want to train you to be part of the solution. That's number two, right? And of course, number three, delegation. And this is what most people get wrong about delegation. You know, I want to highlight something. Lawyers, medical doctors, and dentists, you're never trained on how to delegate. And I understand,
Mhm.
I get it.
Mhm.
Lawyers are about risk management. Everything is about worst case scenario. And I love it, by the way, because in my gelato business, that's how I was trained. You know why? Ruby, if you screw up in a case, you can lose your license.
Mhm.
If with my food products I screwed up, I could kill people. As simple as that.
Mm.
So for
Wow.
25 years, I developed systems and processes and quality standards because
Mm.
if we failed to follow the standards, we could kill hundreds of people. See? So
Wow.
we
Yeah.
really thought about the consequences of not following the standards. So look, this is what, going back to what I was saying, this is what many professionals get wrong about delegating. Delegating is not just saying, "Hey, go do this." You run a pilot project. You you do this micro small experiment, right? Where you say, "I'm gonna
Mhm.
delegate this. Worst case scenario, nothing's gonna happen, but it's gonna be my way of testing my delegation," right? So you start small and and then you evaluate what happened, what did you learn from that exercise, and then you expanded that. You know, delegation is not black or white. It's, let's test this in a small scale situation, learn from it, make sure that you tell your team, "I'm in China. Don't ask me about that," right? I cannot pick up the phone now, and and they know that you're in the office. But again, that's how you do it. Again, people, you document your standards, processes, and systems, and then you start delegating step by step. And I know that lawyers, and I get it again, when they hear delegation, "Oh, no, 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 I have to do everything." Yeah, yeah, of course, you're not going to delegate everything at once. Like the major things that will get you really in trouble, you don't delegate that. And you can
Mhm.
delegate the low risk things and then expand on that system, right? And then you start delegating more higher risk situations. So that's what really gives you peace of mind, right? When it comes to delegating and being able to do that workation.
And that's such a great point. So to be able to maximize the workcation or the travel hacking, you need to be able to even get away from the office in the first place. And I remember I was in the Bahamas, I think, and I got a phone call from an attorney. And I don't know, I guess I picked it up because it was a friend. And so she's like, "Where are you?" I was like, "I'm on vacation." She's like, "Vacation? I can't take vacations." And it inspired me to write a whole article about it, actually, because I wrote about how do you set yourself up to get away from the office. And I love your whole, like, I'm in China, what would you do? That's great, the empowering your team. But it is so true. Like, you have to put these systems in place, or else you're not going to get away. You're going to be burnt out, and you're not going to be able to see the world. And you need a vacation. Your team needs a vacation, and you need to build that infrastructure that you can get away. And so I love how we're making travel hacking circle back to law practice management.
100%. Great point about we all need a vacation. Everybody needs a vacation. We all do. And yes, perfect. It's perfectly doable. But again, from the right people, the right systems, and the delegation game. I'm in China.
I'm in China. Yeah. So it's sort of funny because I was talking to my kids, they're 13 and 15. And I said, "Well, when you can drive, like, you're going to be really good." And they're like, "Well, we won't need you anymore." I'm like, "Well, I mean, you're going to still need me." But I said, but the point is, I said, "But I'm building you for independence. I'm building you for self-sufficiency. I'm training you to know how to take care of yourself, and I think that's the same thing with, like, your team members, like, that they have the power and the capability to problem solve. And I love that about having the answers, not the questions. And I've heard about that, like, as a good management technique. Like, when someone comes to you with a question, have them propose a few responses or answers, and then have them help just help them decide what the solution would be. But I love that it's the empowerment and the growth. And not everybody has that mentality, Marco. Like you said, there are a lot of attorneys and people in general who have this fallacy that I can do everything better, and if it's going to be done right, I have to do it. And we have to break that cycle, because it's not true. And but if you have the right systems in place, you can have a lot more freedom, and sort of live the life that you deserve, which is the tagline with the book, which is sort of funny how that's what we're talking about today.
Exactly. Exactly. And I want to add one key thing that ties it ties into this conversation.
Uh-huh.
Look, when you have a team, people are not, this is what I've learned over the years. And I don't know if I told you, I'm a certified business coach. I do a lot of business coaching. So this is the thing. Most great team members, they're not looking for a paycheck. They're looking for a future. They're looking
Mm-hmm.
for a place to grow. And growing means the empowerment that we're talking about, right?
Mm-hmm.
When you give team members a voice and you test them by, another example, when they, even today, when a team member brings, "Hey, we have this situation," I say, "Okay, I know what I would do, but I want to know what you would do. So don't bring me a problem without saying, we have this problem, that this is how I would fix it. I
Mm-hmm.
need you to think about you with fixing." That way, you're always testing for leadership, Ruby, because at the end of the day, when we hire team members, we always need to be looking for leaders, and leaders are the ones that will allow us to do the workation. See, it's that's
Mm-hmm.
the game. So how do you test if you have leaders? You give them a problem that they can fix. You test them daily. You empower them, and
Mm-hmm.
you're going to be surprised how many team members are going to be super happy and super motivated, not by the money, but by the fact that they're given the opportunity to grow personally and professionally. That's what many people are looking for. See, so it's all connected.
No, it definitely is. And what I see in my future is that I'm going to rotate around the world, based on the climate and the weather. And and work from different places. So I'm building up a place in Saltillo, Mexico that I'm going to go. I
Wow.
haven't figured out exactly when, but maybe a couple times a year potentially.
Okay.
And I'm setting that up to be able to work from there. And I love that we can have the workcation and sort of normalize that. It doesn't have to be work, just vacation or, work, but there could be something in the middle. And I've sort of like was living that, but didn't have the term workcation, finding sort of that balance. But I think it is also about the boundaries and the mindset and like you're saying intentionally what you're saying you're doing. But I love this discussion, Marco. I think we could keep talking. And I know we're both we have the same birthday, right? We're Gemini.
Oh, yes.
Yes,
Just
that's
16.
yes, exactly. But now it's time to move to the fun fact questions. So,
Okay.
what is your favorite board game or card game?
Wow, great question. That's gonna be Pictionary. Let me tell you
Okay.
why.
All
My,
right.
wa-
All right.
my wife
Okay.
is a graphic designer. My sister-in-law is a graphic designer, and they can draw two dots, and they know exactly what the other one is drawing. So
Wow.
I love Pictionary, and I think you can agree with me. We work with often with clients that think that we're playing Pictionary, right? They give you a couple of facts and they expect you to figure out the rest. So sometimes I say, hey, we're not playing Pictionary here.
You know, I love this question because we play a lot of board games as a family, but I don't think anyone's ever said Pictionary, but Pictionary can be really fun. And
Oh, yes.
it's really fun when you like people who are super in sync like you're talking about because they can put just like the most minimal thing and you're like, "How did you get that?" How did you convey that? And then you have other people who are like basically jamming the pen into the paper on the table, be like, "Don't you understand what this is?" But you're not supposed to talk anyway.
Exactly. Yes. Mhm.
What do you consider your superpower?
Well, my ability to put myself in other people's shoes, and
Mm,
that's allows me can get, let me give an example. For 4 years, I was the honorary consul of Italy in my hometown in Venezuela. So I was dealing with, high level, executives and politicians. But at the same time, I can get along with, the guy cleaning the floor. I mean, I can do that. And that is something that I'm really grateful for. I can quickly put myself in a client's shoes and people's shoes and understand their point of view. That's that's major in my view.
but I think a lot of it has to do that traveled a lot because that's helped me to having lived in 6 countries. The more I see the life from other people's perspectives, I don't have sort of such a rigid view of how people see the world, and that's helped me a lot. But that's
I
that's
agree.
wonderful. That's wonderful. What is a habit that contributes to your success?
I never give up. Never.
Awesome. Yeah.
It's the more people say it's difficult, we can, like, it's not doable. Like, what do you mean? We'll figure it out. There's always a way to figure things out. Again, I have the questions, people have the answers.
What would be a podcast or a book you would recommend to our listeners?
Look, if I may, 3 books. I know that you asked
Okay.
for one.
All right.
Okay,
It's
look.
okay. Let's do it.
Okay,
Let's do it.
so really fast look, a classic Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill. It
Mhm.
talks about a lot about the mindset, and I know that's some people say that mindset is overrated, but let me tell you, in the companies that I've grown and expanded, the key has been, in addition to the right people, believing that it's doable. As simple as that. That's book number one. But I also believe in the execution of things, doing things, getting things done. So
Mhm.
there's a book called The Discipline of Execution. Great book.
Hmm.
And the third one, which I use when I interview staff, this is really interesting, written in 1899, called A Message to Garcia. Mensaje
Hmm.
a Garcia. Really interesting. when I interview candidates for positions, I haven't read the book. It's a short book. You can find it online. And I ask them in the next interview, what did you get out of the book? That tells me whether that is a potential great team member. And it rarely fails. A message to Garcia.
A message to Garcia? All right.
Yes.
It sounds like we found the secret sauce to finding the right hires. Wow.
Yeah.
1899 by Albert Hubbard. Does that sound right? Wow.
Yes.
Okay. Is it still in publication?
Well, you can find it. You can find a PDF online.
Oh, okay. Sounds good. All right. Well, I'm going to try this out. I'm going to test it out, man. That sounds great. So Marco, it's great. I mean, we talked about travel hacking, some actual practical tips, and then the idea of workation and having that intention and that flexibility, whether it's a true vacation or workation. But the point is like getting out of the office, getting out of your normal day-to-day life. And, one thing I wanted to mention before we close up is I saw this quote. It said something like, the person we are when we're traveling is like our real self, and we can sort of shed a lot of sort of the roles we normally have to play, and so we can sort of be a different version of maybe like an optimal self in a way. And I feel like sometimes my most best moments were when I was exchange student or a Rotary Ambassadorial Scholar, or I'm on a trip and I'm just being inquisitive and exploring. And I don't know. I feel like those are some of my best moments in life. So I love the fact that as business owners or law firm managers or what have you, we have the opportunity to take advantage of the flexibility from the ownership of our businesses, in addition to the ability to work from anywhere for the most part these days. And then if we just figure out this whole travel hacking business with the points and everything and the credit cards, and also, hack the systems of having the right team members, empowering them and have those systems in place, we really can have a lot of flexibility, see the world, provide our family some exciting experiences, and just really build the life we really want to have. And so I think we'll have to have you for part 2, seeing where we go with all this information. I feel like I have some homework. But Marco, how can people find you and stay in touch with you?
Well, first of all, it was honored to be here with you today. How can they find me? Well, let's see. It's Visa Business Plans is the company, as you said at the beginning. That's that's how we met in the immigration world. Andiamo Travel. We only have an Instagram, which is at Andiamo Travel, right? Mm-hmm. And then we have ProfitWise Online, which is basically a company where we help entrepreneurs and business owners understand their numbers. that's
wow.
what we do mainly through ProfitWise Online. So yes, that and I'm on LinkedIn, and that's how people can find me.
Awesome. Well, thank you for guiding us through, giving us some practical insights to how you've made your life and businesses work. And I know we all have a lot to learn on how to maximizing our travel hacking and just a practice and the freedom that we have in our lives. And thank you so much for joining us, everyone. And we'll see you next time. Take care.
Thank you. Thank you, Ruby.
Thanks.
Bye.
Bye. Thank you for tuning in to Power Up Your Practice. I'm Ruby Powers, and it's been a pleasure sharing this time with you. We love your reviews, so if you enjoyed today's episode, please leave us one and share this podcast with someone else so that they can know what you've been learning on our show. And make sure to check out the Power Up Your Practice book. It's available in paperback and Kindle on Amazon. It's packed with 25 chapters and strategies to grow and streamline your firm. And we also have the free Power Hub community on School to keep the conversation going in between the episodes. So make sure to keep powering up your practice, and we'll see you next time.